Good Vach, and welcome to Thinking of Mashiach Part 6. Thank you to Torah Anytime for bringing this and all Torah around the world 24/7, although it's only being used Be'ezras Hashem 24/6. We're going to begin in this session the Maimer of Tzipi Sol Yeshua of the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim already 100 years ago, at least, and more, was troubled with why there was so much rifyon, why there was such a lacking then even of connection to Torah and mitzvos, and what does it mean, and what can we attribute it to, and how can we understand it, and how can we be strengthened by it. And he writes, Hine bavonosenu arabim, in our days, anu roim bekama makomos, we see in so many places, shenismotet hadas ma'od ma'od, that religion has become weakened and distorted and has become foreign in so many places. It's an amazing thing. I once read that all the universities in this country, the Ivy Leagues, their imprimatur, their insignia, all have Hebrew on them. And the reason why is because even though they weren't Jewish, they were religious institutions. And now, any institution of higher learning, or the vast, vast, vast majority, are the completely opposite of faith. And the same thing is true, certainly, in the Jewish world. Who didn't have altar bubbies and zaydis that had a Shabbos? As my Rebbe already has been saying for over 40 years, there's every Jew in America has a previous ancestor that was a Rav or a Rosh Yeshiva, but also has a cousin somewhere in North America that Rachmana litzlan could be intermarried. That's the world that we're living in. And the Chafetz Chaim ponders why. Why is it that we've fallen so low in this domain? That of the only 15 million accounted for Jews, how many are truly Shomerei Shabbos and knowledgeable? Maybe 2 million, halavai. Right? So he says the reason is because there's been a breakdown in the appreciation of the Olam HaNetzach, of the world of eternity, that this world is only a pathway to get to the next world. And without that understanding, belief, appreciation, and mission statement, it is possible to get lost in our local journey without seeing the big picture. And that's how even Shabbos and Kashrus and family purity, Hilchos Nida, have all waned in the masses. And as the terrible proverb goes, that people threw their tefillin over the boat into the sea on their way to the United States when they came here almost 100 years ago. And the Chafetz Chaim says it's a Maisa Satan. It's the way of the Yetzer Hara, that people forget about the fact that there's reward and there's consequences, there's punishments. My wife knows a woman who many years ago they were having a conversation, and my Rebbitzin just said, Oy vey, I hope HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I hope Hashem is not going to be punitive because of a certain deed. And this woman said, my God doesn't punish. My God doesn't do such a thing. It sounds like one of Terach's idols. My God doesn't do such a thing. We've lost the connection to Olam Haba. That is what has gotten us through all the millennia of challenges, of pogroms, of the Holocaust, of crusades, of intifadas. What has kept the Jewish people strong kept the kernel of faith in Soviet Jewry. After 70 years, they tried to knock out Yiddishkeit. And now some of the most fervent Yidden in the world are those that come from the Soviet Union. Was our understanding that there's something greater than what we see in front of our eyes. That there's more than this world, that there's an Olam HaNetzach, and that inspires us to behave. And as we've been studying up until now, we see that we live in a world of chaos, a world where chutzpah reigns, a world where children do not have respect for their elders, pnei ador k'pnei akelev, like the face of a dog who goes back over what it regurgitated. Chavetz Chaim says, it seems contradictory. It seems contradictory that if I'm telling you now, he says, that the footsteps of Mashiach can be heard, why is it that all these terrible things are taking place? He says, but on the other hand, we see that there's also an uprise, an upsurge of observance, of the tshuva movement, of families that have been distant from Yiddishkeit for generations, and all of a sudden have a rebirth, a reawakening. And the fact that we see both extremes taking place in front of our eyes, both the extreme falling away and the extreme dedication to truth. Every once in a while you hear about a Hasidic Babi in Yerushalayim or in a beautiful Yiddish neighborhood who passes away with over 1,000 descendants behind them, all involved in Torah and mitzvos. It almost seems that the truth, like Yam Suf, is being split in front of our eyes. That those that are connected are more connected than ever, and those that are disconnected are more disconnected than ever. There's no Shabbos, there's no Kashrus, there's no Taras HaMishpacha, there's no basic tenets. But the Chavetz Chaim says, don't fear. This is also part of the unfolding of the end of days. And whatever we do, ani mamin b'emuna shleima b'vias HaMashiach, that every day I remember, I hope for, and I look forward to the times and the days of Mashiach, knowing always that there's more than meets the eye, and that Hashem has our back and has our front, because we always need to be tzipisul Yeshua, thinking of Mashiach. A Shavua Tov.